Welcome in, everyone. Or I should say, welcome to you, the curious learner out there.
The ones looking for some actual clarity without all the clutter.
Exactly. We know you are busy, so our mission for today's deep dive is to get right into this really fascinating intersection. We are looking at physical fitness, mental resilience, and spiritual growth.
And we are exploring all of that through the specific lens of endurance cycling, which is a wild ride, literally.
It really is, and we had a fantastic source for this. We are pulling primarily from an episode of the Health, Science, and Technology podcast.
Yeah, that's produced by the Djere Services Group.
Right, episode 4, called The Cycling Dynamo, Dr. Sarah Ruggins. And just to highlight the setup here, they produced this using some great free software like Pop! OS.
Which is a GNU Linux operating system, for those who don't know.
Yeah, and they paired that with NotebookLM to synthesize the research.
It's a very systematic approach to the material.
It is. But before we get into the heavy data, there is this visual hook from the source materials that I just have to describe for you to set the mood here. Oh, the artwork with the bike. Yeah, that image is striking.
It's so striking.
Yeah.
Okay, so picture this beautifully rendered bright green road bike. And it's just resting on a dirt path.
Right, with these massive mountains and this gorgeous sunrise in the background.
Yeah, but there are these two highly specific, almost surreal details in the image. Down in the dirt, right near the front tire, there's a piece of broken wood, and it's shaped to form an upward pointing arrow. And if you look at the rear wheel, inside the spokes, there are actual star constellations.
Like glowing inside the machinery.
Yes, glowing inside the wheel.
What's fascinating here is how that imagery perfectly symbolizes the entire core theme of the source material.
How so?
Well, that broken wood on the ground, that represents overcoming our earthly physical brokenness, the illnesses, the stress.
A daily grind.
Exactly. And then the arrow points up to the constellations in the wheels, which represents reaching for our highest, almost celestial potential.
Yeah, the bike isn't just a bike. It's the vehicle taking us from that brokenness up to the stars.
I love that. And to really ground that idea, we should probably look at the original author of the source text, right? Because he's not like a professional cyclist.
Far from it. He's an IT business owner.
Yeah, an IT guy who also plays jazz saxophone.
Which is a pretty unique combination.
Right. And his heroes are just as eclectic. He looks up to jazz legend Charlie Parker, but also tech pioneers.
Right. People like Linus Torvalds, the creator of Linux.
And Bjarne Stroustrup, the guy who invented C++ Deck.
Which tells you how his brain works. He admires people who build and optimize complex systems.
Exactly. But the source points out that he hit a massive wall with his own biological system. He realized he couldn't achieve success in music or coding without physical health.
Because the hardware was failing.
Totally. He was dealing with this modern epidemic of brain fog.
Oh, yeah. Everyone knows that feeling.
Yeah, just that complete information overload. It got so bad for him that he actually quit social media entirely.
Wow. Just cold turkey.
Yeah, just to stop the noise.
Well, the source takes a strong biological stance on this. It argues that humans just weren't designed to sit in windowless offices all day.
Staring at screens.
Right. Deep down, we are outdoor explorers. We crave vitamin D. We crave connection to nature. And when we don't get it, we get stressed.
And that chronic stress is basically a silent killer, according to the text.
It really is. But the author found that cycling triggers this massive flood of endorphins.
The feel-good chemicals.
Yeah, the body's natural pain relievers. It actively combats that stress buildup.
Okay, let's unpack this. Are modern humans essentially just running too many background apps? And a daily outdoor bike ride is the biological equivalent of a hard reset for our RAM.
That is exactly it. That's a perfect analogy. The source directly links that outdoor exercise to immediate mental clarity. You are flushing the system.
It's a hard reboot.
Yep. Clearing out the corrupted data so the processor can actually work again.
Which naturally leads us from that mental reset into physical longevity. Because, if cycling clears the mind, how does it actually sustain our bodies over a lifetime? Especially compared to other workouts.
The author brings in some really compelling data here from the Victoria State Government Department of Health.
Okay, what do they say?
They highlight how cycling actively combats the leading global killers. We're talking strokes, heart attacks, obesity, diabetes, and even certain cancers.
That's a massive list.
It is. But the crucial part, the reason cycling is so sustainable, is that it's low impact.
Right, unlike running.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Running is great cardio, but it destroys your joints over time.
Ah.
The pavement pounding just wears you down. Cycling saves the joints. The machine takes the weight, which allows people to realistically keep riding well into their 80s.
That makes a lot of sense. And the author is super quirky about how he integrates this into his daily life. It's not just about hitting the gym.
Oh, the movie theater story.
Yes, I love this anecdote. He literally called his local IMAX theater to ensure they had secure bike racks.
Just to go see a movie.
But wait, it gets better. He did this way in advance, before buying a ticket to see the 2026 Supergirl movie.
That is some serious planning.
Right. But it shows his commitment to integrating the bike into normal life. He also mentions watching Ryan Van Duzer.
YouTuber, yeah.
Yeah, he's in his 40s, but the author notes he looks a decade younger, and he proudly doesn't even own a car.
Which is such a shift in mindset.
So I have to ask, push back a little here. So the secret isn't necessarily torturing yourself in a gym for an hour. It's actually redesigning your infrastructure.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like replacing the greenhouse gas producing car trip to the movies with a bike ride.
That's the exact point the source makes.
Yeah.
Lifestyle integration is the key to longevity. You trick your brain. You aren't exercising, you're just going to the movies. But your heart and lungs get the benefit anyway.
You hack your own routine.
Exactly. You make movement the default state rather than a scheduled chore.
Okay, so we know this low-impact machine works for commuting to the IMAX theater, but we have to shift the scale here.
Right into the extreme.
Yeah. What happens when you push this machine and the human body to the absolute limits of endurance, especially to overcome physical tragedy?
This brings us to Dr. Sarah Ruggins.
Yes. Her backstory in the text is just incredible. So she was a rising track star from a very active Canadian family.
She's a runner.
Right. But at age 15, she gets devastated by this diagnosis of CRPS.
Complex regional pain syndrome.
Right. And it's this poorly understood disease that causes prolonged severe pain and inflammation.
It's agonizing. The nervous system just misfires constantly.
And the text points out that this illness literally stripped away her ability to walk.
Wow.
Or even use her hands. And on top of the physical pain, she battled severe PTSD from the trauma of it all.
Which is completely understandable. But how she bypassed that disability is just remarkable.
What did she do?
She leaned into her mind. She conquered academia first. She went on to earn a PhD in financial economics from the University of Edinburgh.
That is not an easy degree.
No, it requires immense discipline and data processing.
Mm.
And the source argues that doing that boosted her confidence to return to endurance sports. She realized she had the mental fortitude.
And that leads to 2026.
Right.
Here's where it gets really interesting. She shatters the world record for cycling the entire length of Europe.
It's just staggering to even think about.
She rode over 6,000 kilometers. That's around 3,754 miles. And she did it in just 13 days.
Beating the old record by 3 full days and 32 minutes.
But wait, how? How does someone go from losing the physical ability to walk to pedaling across an entire continent in less than 2 weeks?
It's a massive leap.
Right. What is the actual fuel source there? Because it can't just be carbohydrates and sports drinks.
Well, the source connects her physical feats to a really profound spiritual philosophy. The text argues that the true fuel isn't physical at all.
Okay, what is it then?
It's the alchemy of turning suffering into purpose.
Alchemy.
Yeah. Treating physical exertion as an actual spiritual discipline. The author introduces this by quoting the Bible, specifically Romans 5.1 through 5.
Oh, I'm vaguely familiar with that.
The passage basically states that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces proven character, and character produces hope.
So the suffering is actually a necessary step.
Exactly. It's the mechanism.
That makes sense. And there are these two really powerful parallel examples in the text to back this up. First, he brings up David Sanborn.
The jazz saxophonist, right?
Yeah. He spent a year in an iron lung as a kid because of polio.
That sounds terrifying.
It is. But the text argues he transformed that profound suffering into legendary musical discipline. Being hyper-aware of his breath in that machine translated into mastering a wind instrument.
Wow, the obstacle became the path.
Exactly. And the second example is about bike packing.
Backpacking with a bike.
Right. The author talks about watching Ryan Van Duzer bikepack the Colorado Trail, and we are talking about a brutal 486-mile ride through the mountains.
It's a lot of climbing.
Tons of climbing. And the text notes that the deep suffering and physical friction on that ride was the exact mechanism that allowed him to truly experience the beauty of the natural world. Like, you can't have the high without the agonizing low.
This raises an important question. It asks us to consider how adversity is actually a requisite for greatness.
A requisite.
Yeah, like you can't reach your potential without it.
Right.
The universe, or whatever you want to call it, slowly reveals our mission through these exact challenges. Dr. Ruggins wouldn't have broken a cycling record if she hadn't been forced to find a new path because of her illness.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom out, we've covered the author's brain fog, the longevity of low-impact cycling, Dr. Ruggins' unbelievable record, and this whole spiritual alchemy of suffering.
And the imagery of the bike with the stars in its wheels.
Right. So the ultimate lesson here for you, listening to this, is that you are capable of far more than you believe.
Absolutely.
If you think you can only ride 1 mile a week, you are wrong.
You're just artificially capping your potential. And the author reminds us to actively seek out inspiration to break those limits.
How do we do that?
Well, whether it's watching a YouTube video of someone who has lost the 50 pounds you want to lose, or just finding a local community that quietly encourages you, you have to surround yourself with proof that the impossible is possible.
You have to find your constellations.
Exactly.
Well, that brings us to the end of our sources today. But as always, I want to leave you with one final lingering question to mull over. Something that builds on the spiritual philosophy we just unpacked.
A good one.
If voluntary suffering and arduous physical exertion are the very tools that unlock our deepest potential and connect us to the universe, what modern, everyday conveniences are you currently clinging to that are secretly depriving you of your own greatness? Is it possible that your comfort zone is actually your biggest disability? Think about it. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive, and we'll catch you next time.